Farm Bureau. Todd Wade joins us right now, former All-SEC offensive lineman, went on to play and have an exceptionally successful career in the NFL. Todd, appreciate a few minutes of your time to talk some Egg Bowl. What's up, my man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So when I say Egg Bowl to you, as someone who grew up in the state of Mississippi and chose to go to Ole Miss, what's the first thing that jumps to your mind?
And just animosity, intensity, weather like we're about to experience usually.
We may get one of those rainy nights this year. So your Egg Bowls were 96, 97, 98, 99, right? Those were the four that you played in?
Correct.
All right, so the 97 game out of those four, I'm assuming is the one that really comes back to your mind. It's kind of a gray, rainy day in Starkville that day. Everybody knows how it ended with the two-point conversion. Kind of walk me through that game and that day in particular.
It was just as you described, and it had become a cloudy day. It rained and just was kind of off and on. First thought was, well, you had when everybody goes out on the field to warm up before the game, the linemen are usually the last ones to go out. So you had the snappers were already out, but the offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, and I believe that was it. We're still in the locker room stretching, and the reason why we're stretching because the field was wet. So we were just going to stretch in the locker room and then go out and warm up. But never forget. Sitting there stretching and just kind of quietly talking among, and you hear a roar of the crowd, but you didn't really know what was going on. It could have been anything. But then that's just up the ramp. The Leo Still Center ran up that ramp, and so there's a fight. There's a fight, and Benji Pierce, our strength coach. Well, you hear that, boys? Go get them! Everybody, we all jumped out. And I remember running, and I was wearing spike cleats, running down there. I don't want to fall down on my way down. And I remember Derek Burgess passing me as I was running down there. So we were running down there. By the time we got there, I remember my offensive line coach Hugh Nall. He had grass in his hair. I think a state player that knocked him over. And it was just kind of pandemonium, but it was just at the breakup of that fight, and then just the whole game was just very intense. The fans at that time, it was just so. It seemed like much more local in recruiting, local everything. Neither team didn't have the brand that they do today as far as recruiting nationally. So it's a little more heated in state with recruiting and everything, and it was very teams were close and in records, and it was very competitive.
So the 2-point conversion play at the end, Matt Luke has said in the past that they didn't have you guys didn't have overtime in you. You were worn out, you were out of gas, so. Tell me about the conversation leading up to the let's go for two and try and win it right here.
A lot of us are still on the field, just kind of waiting, and they made a decision. They made a decision on the sidelines, and that was it. It happened honestly so fast. It was much like that LSU just recently their big win when they went for two at the end of the game under Chip Kelly. Which is part of the deal. You make the decision, you go for it. You don't want to just take your time getting ready necessarily. It kind of take you out of the sync of the game, and maybe you can even get on the field fast enough to surprise the defense. But it honestly happened so fast that it was just another play. But yes, we get in the huddle. That's it. If we don't get in there, and calling such a play like that, we're trying to get the defensive lineman's hands down because the closer you get to the goal line, the ball's coming out faster. So the last thing you want is defensive lineman to bat the ball down. So you can it's almost more of a play action pass when it comes to when the quarterback is that close to towards the goal line. So, it was it happened fast and just kind of pandemonium afterwards. Everyone was excited. It was just no one. You never know what to expect. On a Tuberville, we went for it a lot on fourth down. Maybe not as much as Kiffin has, but we certainly did. And so it wasn't just out of the ordinary, but it was still somewhat of a surprise.
All right, so I feel like there's a parallel to something that happened in your career and something that may be happening right now at Ole Miss. The Lane Kiffin stuff is very much up in the air. You went through the time, and it was different, right, because we didn't have the social media and there weren't as many message boards, and it wasn't necessarily all-consuming, but people were talking about Tommy Tuberville leaving for Auburn. Here we are again. In terms of getting ready for that game, take me inside the locker room, what it was like then and what you think the guys on Ole Miss's team are dealing with right now as they prepare for a game that should be a really big game and is, but all of the conversation outside is about whether or not their head coach is going to be here in 3 days.
Oh, absolutely. It honestly is almost identical because I've always thought this. I remember walking up to the Starn Center at Ole Miss. It's basically where our weight room next to the locker room is located, and seeing Ronnie Hurd. And I remember Ronnie looking at me and goes, "What do you think? Are they leaving?" He goes, "I think they're leaving." I go, "Man, it reminded me of this because it is on the players' minds. The players talking about it. It's not a what are we going to do, but it's the big talk, and you can't help it.
We may have lost Todd.
Yeah.
Todd, you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you just for a second. Last thing I heard you say was you can't help it. It's on the players' minds.
Yes, it is. It's on the players' minds because even though you didn't have social media and message boards like they do now, but it is the big talk, and parents were talking about it. Students, so all your friends are talking about it. So you can't help it. I mean, the coaches, when they also mention it in meetings, you can read between the lines and kind of know what's happening. There would be these random snippets that an assistant coach might say, or everyone's on position coach. Don't worry about what's happening. Things like that. We kind of knew, but you really don't. And sure enough, we go to Arkansas and get just crushed. So it is. You don't necessarily want to blame it just on that. Other things happen. Credit to the opposing teams, but it happened to us, and it's happened this year as well. So hopefully we have a good game plan, and I'm sure the staff is prepared for this game and prepared the players, but you never know.
I'm curious. You had the win in '97. Unfortunately, you dealt with 3 losses in that time as well. What stands out more for you? Is it the win or is it the losses? Because I've heard players through the years say, it's the losses that you always remember.
I can speak for '99, and it's one of those losses that I always think about, even now, because it's frustrating. And for me, being an offensive lineman, I'm thinking about the offensive line and how the offensive line played. You remember when you lost and the offensive line did not play well. You never forget that. So there's a couple of games during my senior year. Georgia's another one that I felt our offensive line dominated, but we lost the game. And I felt the state game was the same way against a really talented defensive front, but we came up short. So it's an unfortunate loss that they got away with one, in my opinion, and we lost. But it's definitely something you think about.
There were some really good backs that were at Ole Miss in the time that you were there. Who's the guy? Who's the best back that you ever blocked for?
Deuce was really special. And you go back and look at him during like his freshman year. People kind of looked at him like he was a power back, even though he wasn't as big as he was in the NFL. but as a freshman, he just, you had John Avery was the other guy. So you had John, super fast. People looked at Deuce like he was more of the short yardage guy, but he wasn't. He was a sprinter. Deuce could fly. So it's he was a special player. He could catch. He return kicks, do everything, and so I'll block for great ones in the NFL as well. Ricky Williams being one of them.
Yeah.
And fortunately we led the league in rushing with Ricky. So both really good backs, but Deuce is always on top of my list. So
Todd, thanks so